Hey guys, what is up? My name is Landon and welcome to the Jersey Zone. So today I want to start doing my standings predictions for the 2021-2022 season. Now I'm going to split this up into one division per video because if I did it all in one video it would be way too long, so I'm splitting it up. Today I'm going to be doing the Pacific Division and I'll go in a little bit of an order. I'll do Pacific, then the Central, then the Metro, and then the Atlantic. Now before we get into the predictions here, I do want to say that if you guys disagree with me, that's completely okay. I'm probably going to be wrong on a lot of these predictions. I did a prediction video last year for each division and I was wrong on a lot of things, so I'll probably be wrong again in these videos here. So like I said, if you disagree with me, that's completely okay. But anyways, let's get into the predictions here. So finishing in last place in the Pacific Division at number 8, I do have the Anaheim Ducks. Now there wasn't really a whole lot of turnover for the Anaheim Ducks in the offseason here. They basically just lost Ryan Miller and that was to retirement, and they didn't really lose anyone else of note either or add anyone. Like I said, there wasn't a ton of changes for the Ducks this offseason, which I think fans are probably completely okay with. They know the Ducks are trying to tank this season. The Ducks know that they're trying to tank this season. They're basically going for that first overall pick, and they're just hoping that the young guys kind of learn a little bit more, get kind of used to that NHL speed and everything like that. One thing I will say though is I hope that Gibson does have a better season this year. He hasn't had a great past 2 seasons, but once again, the Ducks haven't really been great for the past couple of seasons either, so I kind of get it. But that's probably one thing you're looking for if you're a Ducks fan, and it's one thing that I'm looking for as well. I'm not a Ducks fan at all, but I do want John Gibson to have a better season and have a bounce back year this year because I do like him a lot, so I hope he does play well. Now moving on to number 7, we have the San Jose Sharks. They basically revamped their goaltending here. They don't have Jones anymore. They also moved Kojanar. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, but they don't have those 2 goaltenders anymore. They lost Donato as well, and I don't think they're bringing back Marleau. If they were going to bring back Marleau, I would assume they would have signed him already, so it looks like Marleau's probably going to retire, which is kind of sad. But in terms of who they brought in Bonino, Cogliano, and for their goaltending, Aiden Hill and James Reimer. Now for me personally, I think this is a huge upgrade in goal. I absolutely love James Reimer. I really liked Aiden Hill with the Coyotes organization. I think he played really well. So with this upgrade in goal, maybe they push up the standings a little bit more. I can maybe see them getting up to 5th place, but other than that, I really don't see them getting any higher than 5th. But obviously the big story around the San Jose Sharks this offseason is Evander Kane. There's been a couple of accusations thrown at him, whether he gambled on games. That has kind of turned out to be false, or at least that's what the NHL found out themselves. And there's still a couple of investigations going on looking at him and looking at some other stuff he did. That whole situation is a mess. It looks like some of the Sharks teammates don't even want him back anyways. They didn't really like him in the locker room, so I assume that Evander Kane is not going to play this season, especially with the San Jose Sharks. And even though he does have a lot of off-ice issues, I still think he is a decent player, so I do think that will hurt their team a little bit. So that's why I do have them at 7th place. Now moving on to number 6, I'm rounding out the California teams. I do have all of the California teams in the bottom 3 here, so I do have the LA Kings at 6th place. Now even though I do have the Kings in 6th place here, I actually think they could be a fairly decent team, and they are the team, especially within California, that I could see really moving up in the standings here, and I can maybe even see them pushing kind of for a playoff spot there. I really like the additions that they made, adding Deneau, Arvidsson, and Edler as well. They didn't really lose anything in the offseason, so I definitely think that this is an improved team. And with the Pacific as well, I don't think it's a very strong division, so I definitely could see them moving up the standings pretty easily and maybe even pushing for like a 3rd spot. Their goaltending would have to be fantastic, which I do think it probably will. I like Cal Peterson. Jonathan Quick is probably just going to be that backup there, so as long as he just plays okay, I think the Kings will do fine. And their young guys would really have to impress as well, so for me personally, I just don't quite see them making the playoffs. Like I said, they could probably move up pretty close to it, but as of right now, I don't see them making the playoffs, but next year I could definitely see that as a possibility. At number 5, I have the Calgary Flames, which I don't want the Calgary Flames to be at 5th in the division here. If you guys don't know, the Flames are my 2nd favorite team. I really do like them a lot. I would want them to make the playoffs, but I just kind of don't really see it happening this year. Although I will say the Pacific Division was kind of hard to predict for me. I would say like slots 2 to 5. It's really a toss-up. I really don't know where these teams are going to finish. They could finish like in any random pattern, and I would probably see that happening, but with the Calgary Flames here, I do have them in 5th place. Obviously, the big guy that they lost was Giordano, losing him to Seattle. That's a really big loss for the Calgary Flames. They did also lose kind of like their backup goaltending. They traded Riddick last season to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they did lose a couple of depth guys as well, but those are guys you can kind of replace. They did bring in Blake Coleman, though, which on that contract, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the contract itself, but I do really like that they brought in Blake Coleman. I think that is a huge add for the Calgary Flames. And they also brought in Vladar for that backup role, which he only played a couple of games in Boston where he was just okay, but I'm not quite sure if he's ready for that backup role. So I do think that Markstrom needs a bounce back year this year. Not that he played awful last season, but I definitely think that he can play better. So they are going to need that bounce back season from Markstrom for sure. But I will say, looking at the Flames roster itself, I think they should be a better team, and I do think they should be a playoff team. But like the last 2 seasons, especially last season, it was a weird season because they played really, really bad. And it almost looked like there was some kind of issue within the locker room itself. And it looks like they don't really like Tkachuk's game as well, or at least that's kind of like the vibes that I get from watching the Flames themselves. So I'm not really too sure what the issue is with the Flames, but they honestly can go either way for me. Like I said, right now I do have them at 5th place, but I can definitely see them making a playoff team, and I think they should be a playoff team. Last season, I predicted them to win first in the North Division, so I kind of hope I do a reverse jinx this time where I have them predicted at 5th, so I'm hoping they may be finished a little bit higher up than I have them right now. Coming in at number 4, I have the Vancouver Canucks, and I will say I do have them missing the playoffs just by a little bit. For me, I see both of the wild cards going to the Central Division, so I do have 5 Central teams and 3 Pacific Division teams making the playoffs, so that's kind of how I see it. But going back to the Canucks here, I don't really love what they did in the offseason, I'll say that. They lost Schmidt, who I know he kind of didn't have a great year, and he didn't really kind of mesh well with the Vancouver Canucks, but it's kind of shown, and he's kind of said that he's a really outgoing guy, and he likes to connect with his teammates and everything like that, and he couldn't really do that last year. So I feel like if they just kept him, maybe he would have been able to mesh a little bit better with his teammates and have a little bit better of a year. So I kind of wish that they kind of kept him, but I can understand, I guess, why they traded him, and maybe he wanted out at the same time as well. And they also traded out the Roussel, Eriksson, and Beagle contracts as well, which I can kind of get why they did it, because those are very cumbersome contracts for sure. But at the same time, they only had 1 year left on all of those deals. And for me personally, I think it's a better idea just to have waited those out and not traded the players, because in trading all of those players and those contracts themselves, they did get back Garland, who I think is a very good player. So that is an upside for that trade, but they did also get OEL with that trade as well, which I don't think OEL is that bad a defenseman. I think he's just okay. He definitely can have a bounce back year, but currently as he was playing the past couple of seasons with Arizona, I really do not think he's worth it for that contract. If you guys don't know his contract, he's making $8.25 million until 2026-2027, so a very, very long time here. And that's where my hesitation kind of comes into play here. I'm really just not sure if that was a great idea. They're really banking on the fact that he will have that bounce back year and that he'll play well for his entire time with the Vancouver Canucks as well. And I just don't know if I overly see it. And that's why I think I would have rather them just keep those other contracts for that 1 year and kind of just wait it out. But that is just my opinion. I know a lot of Vancouver fans are very excited about the trade. They like that they got Garland, which, like I said, I like that they got Garland too. I think that's a great move. And they also like that they got OEL. And as long as he has that bounce back year and he kind of plays pretty well until his contract ends, then it's a really good trade. But for me, just as of right now, I don't really fully see it, so that's why I'm kind of iffy on the trade currently. I hope he does prove me wrong, though. But other than that, they did also lose Holtby as well and replaced him with Halak. Holtby didn't have a great year last year either, so I do like the addition of Halak. I think him and Demko will be a pretty good tandem, so I think that will work well for the Vancouver Canucks. I will say as well as of right now, as I'm recording this, Pettersson and Hughes have still not signed with the Vancouver Canucks. I do expect them to sign before the season starts, but it does start in like 11 days as I'm recording this, so it is a little bit of a time crunch here. I hope that they do sign before the season starts, because if they don't, that will definitely hurt the Vancouver Canucks a lot. But as of right now, I do expect them to sign. Now at number 3, I have the Edmonton Oilers. And no, I did not forget a team. They are still coming. Now, once again, with Edmonton, I didn't love what they did in the offseason. They traded out Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear, which I wasn't really a huge fan of. I didn't like that they did that. And they also lost Adam Larson to Seattle as well. So I think their D took a huge hit this offseason, and I don't think they really replaced it that well. I know they did bring in a couple of guys like Cody Ceci, who I wasn't a huge fan of Ceci when he played with Toronto. I know he did have a better season in Pittsburgh, so hopefully he kind of brings that energy that he had in Pittsburgh to Edmonton as well. They also brought in Duncan Keith, but for me personally, I kind of see Keith as more of a mentor player here, and he doesn't really have anyone to mentor, I would say. Like most of the young guys that I would assume that he probably would have mentored were like Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones, and they traded both of those players out. So there is still a few young guys on that defense there that he can probably kind of train up a little bit. That's going to be on that bottom pair there. But like I said, I just don't really love this move for the Edmonton Oilers as well. Although what they added on their forward depth, I do like a lot. They brought in Zach Hyman, which I'm so sad about. If you guys don't know, I'm a Leafs fan, so I'm very, very sad about losing Zach Hyman. He's going to be a great player with the Edmonton Oilers. You might not love like the last year or two on that deal, but for the first 3 years, you're going to absolutely love him. He's going to be a fantastic player for you, and if you pair him up with McDavid, the guy's going to score like 30 goals. It's going to be ridiculous. He's going to play very, very well. So I do like that addition there. They did also bring in Warren Fogle, who I think will work well. So I'm not concerned about the offense for the Edmonton Oilers. And I mean, they still got McDavid and Draisaitl as well. I do like what they did with their forward depth. I just really don't like what they did on the back end there. And I'm extremely shocked that they brought back the same goaltending tandem that they had last year. They re-signed Mike Smith once again, and they kept Koskinen as well. Now, I will say this. Last year, I was super shocked that they re-signed Mike Smith, and I was like, what are they doing? He's not going to have a great season. He's super old. I don't understand what the Edmonton Oilers are doing, and Mike Smith had a phenomenal year. He was so good last year. So even though I am saying the exact same things again, and I personally do not think that he will have the exact same season as he did last year, I hope he does, and I hope he proves me wrong once again. But for me, I just don't really see him having that kind of season again, and I just don't think Koskinen can kind of step up to the plate if Smith does falter a little bit. So that's why I have them coming in at number 3. I kind of see it the same as last year, where McDavid and Draisaitl are kind of going to carry them to that number 3 in the division and to the playoffs. Now coming in at number 2, I have the Seattle Kraken. Now, I will say, the only reason I have them at number 2 is because I really think this division is that bad. I really do not like this division at all in terms of like how good they're going to be. I do like a few teams in it, but like I said, I just don't think they're going to be that great of a division, and that is the sole reason why I have them at number 2. I don't think they're going to have a fantastic season like the Vegas Golden Knights did in their first year. I really just don't really see that happening, but I do still think this team is going to be fairly decent. I really like their defense. I think their defense is extremely strong with Vince Dunn, Giordano, Larson, guys like that on the back end. I really like that back end a lot, as well as their goaltending with Grubauer and Drieger. That's a fantastic tandem, and it's really going to keep them in a ton of games, even if like the forward and the defense are struggling a bit. So my only concern with the Kraken itself is kind of that offense. I don't think it's going to be absolutely awful, but I don't think they're going to be a hugely offensive team. It's going to be really interested kind of seeing some of the guys who are playing in the top 6 in Seattle, who kind of played lower down in the lineups with some other teams, kind of how they work out and if they will step up to the plate and can play that bigger role, kind of like Yanni Gourde, who I do think will play that bigger role in Seattle and will play really well. I think he's missing like the first little bit of the season, but when he does come back, I do think he'll be able to step it up and kind of play those top line minutes there. But yeah, so I do think the Seattle Kraken will be a pretty good team here. Like I said, the only reason I have him in second place, though, is because I really don't see this division being that great of a division. And obviously, at number 1, we have the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm pretty sure everyone's picking Vegas to win this division. And honestly, if they don't win this division, it'll be a little bit of an embarrassment for the Vegas Golden Knights, I think. They really should win this division, and I don't think it'll be close, like, at all. Although I will say, one of the things that could maybe make them fall off a little bit here is the goaltending itself this season. Obviously, in the offseason, they traded Fleury, which was a huge trade because they got literally nothing for Fleury. Now, however you feel about that, whether it's a good thing because they got $7 million in cap space, or a bad thing because they literally got nothing else in return for their star goaltender, for their face of the franchise, however you feel about it, it's a very interesting trade for sure. And they brought in Brossoit to kind of replace Fleury. He's not replacing Fleury, but he is going to be the backup for Leonard there. I do like Leonard. I think he's a very good goaltender, but we'll kind of see how he plays being in the starter position in Vegas. I think that's a pretty big role for him. So we'll see kind of how he steps up to the plate there. And I'm interested to see how kind of Brossoit plays as well, because the last couple of seasons, he's played behind Hellebuck, who plays like almost every single game and is a fantastic goaltender. I think he'll probably get a few more games in Vegas than he did in Winnipeg. So we'll see kind of how he plays with those more games and with those more minutes. That is like really my huge question mark with the Vegas Golden Knights, is how well that goaltending will kind of hold up compared to the past couple of seasons without Fleury being there. Now, the other issue with the Vegas Golden Knights is that center depth. They really don't have a lot of it. Stevenson, he's just not really a first-line center, at least in my opinion. Maybe I don't watch Vegas enough, but I don't really see it. They have Carlson as that second-line center, which I would probably say is fine. I think he's a fine second-line center, but yeah, I just really think they need someone else to play in that first-line center position. But other than that, I mean, they are a fantastic team. And like I said, I do definitely have them finishing first in the Pacific here, and I do think it'll be a little bit of an embarrassment if they don't. But that is going to be it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, where each team is going to finish. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Obviously, I'll be doing the other divisions pretty quickly here. The season starts in like just 11 days or something like that, so I do need to get these out fairly quickly. But also make sure to follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter at the Jersey Zone YT on Instagram and at the Jersey Zone on Twitter. Links are in the description down below. But like I said, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.